Hey guys, it's Selwen here, today talking about the Outlaw Rogue, or Combat Rogue, which is its proper name. So Outlaw is mainly about something? RNG, of course. So in Outlaw, there's gonna be some management, be from your resources, energy consumed by most of your abilities to deal damage, and combo points. Combo points are generated by a couple of abilities: Saber Slash, your main filler, hitting with your main weapon, generating a combo point, but it also has a 35% chance to hit an additional time, generating an extra combo point. Ambush, a stealth-only attack, dealing damage and giving 1 combo point. Pistol Shot, a ranged attack doing reasonable amount of damage and awarding 1 point, but Saber Slash extra attack proc makes it free to use, called Opportunity. Then you will use those points to deal extra damage, called Spenders or Finishers, which are Run Through, a simple attack dealing damage per combo points spent, and Between the Eyes, working in the same way but stuns plus it deals 4 times more damage if it crits. Your other spenders is what Outlaw is mainly gonna be about. Roll the Bones, I'll talk more about it later, but essentially an ability giving you a variety of buffs at random, and their duration depends on how many points used. Your main cooldown is Adrenaline Rush, increasing your energy regeneration for 60% and your attack speed by 20%. Your artifact ability is Curse of the Dreadblades, making your combo point generators to fill all of your combo points in one go. Besides that, there's also some passives. Your Mastery gives off a chance to attack with your offhand weapon, dealing damage, and Combat Potency makes those attacks give you 10 energy. Restless Blades makes your finishers reduce the cooldown of all of your cooldowns by 0.5 seconds per combo point, except Curse of the Dreadblades. And Ruthlessness makes your finishers also grant a combo point after being used, 20% chance per point used. Now, as for talents, Outlaw has 2 builds that you can use: the Slice and Dice based build, a very classic approach to the old Combat Rogue, much more simple to play and more fun if you really hate the RNG aspect of Roll the Bones, as that is replaced with the Slice and Dice ability. More on that later. And obviously the Roll the Bones build based on Marked for Death. The difference in DPS is practically none. Slice and Dice is much more stable though, so if you find it hard to manage or annoying to play with Roll the Bones, that's what you should go for. But if both builds are being played to their maximum levels, their DPS values are indeed pretty even, which is quite nice as you can purely make that decision on how you want to play Outlaw. So first, for the Slice and Dice build. In the first tier, you want Ghostly Strike, a new ability granting 1 combo points and leaving a debuff increasing your damage done to the target by 10%. It has no cooldown, so just something to keep up. Swordmaster is a close choice, however, if you prefer, giving off a 10% extra chance on your Saber Slash extra attack. Some more free pistol shots as well, but is random as opposed to a nice and stable option like Ghostly Strike. Second tier is mostly based on mobility, so choose what you prefer. Acrobatic Strikes is the most useful, increasing the range of your abilities like Blade Flurry, which is your AoE. The others are fine if you feel like you need them instead. Third tier, Deeper Stratagem is clearly the winner here for an extra combo point and 5% extra damage on finishers. You're gonna use Run Through quite a lot, so is a must. The others are fine but won't provide as much as a DPS increase. The next tier is entirely situational, so choose whatever. Either Sheet Death or Elusiveness is the most valuable, so choose what you prefer. Following tier follows the same idea, but for utility, Dirty Tricks is the most useful, but you can freely use the others if you prefer or need. On the 6th tier, Alacrity is the best choice by giving you 2% haste for 20 seconds, stacking 10 times up to 20% haste every time you use a combo point. So a finisher, basically giving you 2% haste every time you use a Run Through or a Roll the Bones. And finally is obviously Slice and Dice, increasing your attack speed by 100%, so doubling it, and giving you extra energy generation. Not really changing your gameplay, but a simple yet fun ability, as it always has been. As for the Roll the Bones build, everything stays except in the first tier you want Quick Draw, improving your pistol shot by 50% and giving you 2 combo points instead of 1. And then on the last tier marked for death instead, branding your target for 1 minute and filling your combo points on demand, and if the target dies within the 1 minute, the cooldown resets. And for your Mythic Plus or multi-target build, nothing changes at all, both builds work fine. The reason for this is because your AoE rotation doesn't change much from your single target one, and even though abilities like Cannonball Barrage and Killing Spree are fun and meant for AoE, Alacrity is just too good to give up. The others do offer burst, so you can pick them if you want, but what's better, using those on cooldown on just a few trash packs or having this permanent haste increase? You be the one to decide. It's Alacrity. With that then, let's now talk about your rotation. First, I'm going to talk about the Roll the Bones build, followed by Slice and Dice, and then finish off with multi-target. Now, I'm gonna immediately start with your opener, meaning what you want to do in most boss fights, on how to utilize your cooldowns, and then go from there to your normal rotation and what you want to do there. But before all of that, let's talk about Roll the Bones, which is gonna be the bread and butter of this build. So, Roll the Bones is a finisher, meaning you need combo points to use. More you have, the longer the buffs will last. Now, when you click it, you're gonna get a variety of buffs at random. Not only that, the number of them can also change. So you could get 1, 2 buffs, 3, 4, you get the idea. Completely and entirely random. Plus, if you have one active and click the ability again, it will remove what you have and give new ones. A slot machine, essentially. Or, well, a dice. So, what are those buffs and what will they mean? Well, some won't matter at all to your gameplay. It will be passive. Others you will have to take in account and change your rotation accordingly. And obviously there will be better buffs than others. So you're gonna have to prioritize and know when to roll the bones, once again when that happens. So let's just test it out. So here I just used 1 roll the bones at max combo points. I was unlucky, so it just gave me 1 out of the 6. That's called Jolly Roger, giving me a 25% extra chance on my Super Slash to strike an additional time, meaning now I know I will get far more free pistol shots and my Super Slash will almost for sure generate 2 combo points. So now forward, I'll have to take in mind when that buff is active to manage my combo points. More on that later. Now I use it again, and I got 2 buffs this time. Jolly Roger, once more. Remember, the previous buffs get removed, not added on top of each other, okay? And I also got Shark Infested Waters, increasing my crit chance by 25%, so nothing to take of note. It will crit more, which is great, but won't change my gameplay. Let's use it again, and like before, I was unlucky and only got 1 buff, Buried Treasure, and like Shark Infested Waters, doesn't really matter, since all increases my energy regeneration. And now I only got 1 buff, but a pretty good one, Broadsides, making my combo generators like Saber Slash, Pistol Shot, or even Ambush give an extra combo point, plus deal 20% more damage. So now you have to take in mind that you will always generate 2 points or 3 with Pistol Shot or with the Saber Slash procs, so your rotation will have to adjust to it in order to not overcap combo points. More on that when we get to the nitty-gritty. So now I got True Bearing, making your finishers reduce the cooldown of your cooldowns even further on top of your passive by 1 second per combo point. So now you know you'll get them far earlier. One of the most powerful buffs as well. There's also 1 buff missing though, which is Grand Melee. But Grand Melee is just like your other 2, not much to concern yourself about, increases attack speed and leech, so healing, but nothing changes and is the worst buff you could get for a single target. What you can see on the screen is just a basic approach on how valuable each buff is, so remember that. Now, with that in mind, your rotation and how to use Roll the Bones in combat. So when opening up, you want to start in stealth, always, because it gives you access to ambush. Its damage isn't that much higher than Saber Slash, but gives you a proc, making sure your next Saber Slash procs that extra attack, granting you a free pistol shot. So always start in stealth and use an ambush whenever you can. Then you want to use a Marked for Death, even before you enter combat, so on pre-pull. Why? Because it gives you all of your combo points, meaning you can go for a roll the bones before entering combat, and both of those are usable from stealth. So remember to place them in your stealth action bar. You can use it well before, so upwards to 15 seconds or so. This way you are possibly saving yourself a global cooldown before actually start doing damage. Then when in a hitting range of the boss, and when the fight is about to begin, pop Curse of the Dreadblades is one of your main coolies and is gonna allow you to get all points with a single use of any combo point builder. Follow that with an ambush and you get all of your points filled. Then pop Adrenaline Rush. It won't change too much, it's gonna give you more energy to spend and extra attack speed, but it's great because now you can enter a 2-button smashing rotation and you're gonna need a lot of energy. One thing to keep in mind first though, Adrenaline Rush also gives you loaded dice, making your next use of Roll the Bones grant you 2 buffs for sure, or obviously more. Meaning, if you get at least 2 buffs in your pre-pool, you just leave them alone for now, but if you only got 1 buff, you use Roll the Bones again. Since Ambush filled you up, you can freely use it, just to get to those 2 buffs, whatever they might be. Then you just go for a Saber Slash and a Run Through. Like I said, Saber Slash is a builder, so it's going to give you all the points, so you can just follow immediately with a Run Through. If you have the leg wrists, however, you want to use the Between the Eyes ability instead whenever it's available, and then keep that going until the Curse of the Dreadblades depletes. Just mix in a pistol shot if you get a proc instead of a Saber Slash, and again keep that going. Saber Slash, Run Through, pistol shot, Run Through, etc. That's essentially your cooldown rotation in your opener and every time afterwards. Pretty simple, just 2 buttons all the time. Once the cooldowns are over, you enter your normal rotation, and here is gonna follow the same idea. Now, you actually have to manage combo points, your energy, and of course, roll the bones. So like before, you want to do as many run-throughs as you can. So use Saber Slash to build combo points until 6 for the said run-through, or Between the Eyes with the Lego. That said, you need to be careful on some things. You always want to build to 6 points for a run-through, but you also get those procs that generate an extra point from Saber Slash. For the most part, it's fine, just keep a lookout for them. However, if you have the Broadsides buff or Jolly Roger, you for sure gonna generate 2 points to 3 points, and since you don't want them to overcap, if those buffs are up, do not use a Saber Slash at 5 combo points, just use Run Through then. This way you won't lose out on their use. As for Pistol Shot, will follow a similar idea. It will for the most part take Saber Slash priority with a free proc. Don't ever use Pistol Shot without it, by the way, unless you cannot hit the enemy. Pistol Shot gives you 2 points, so you never want to use it when you're at 5, just on 4 or below, nor when you near the cap of energy, since you don't want that to also overcap and letting it sit at max. Your energy needs to be constantly ticking, so use Saber Slash over it in those situations. That said, with Broadsides, it's gonna give you the 3 instead, so use at 3 points or below only. Now, as for Roll the Bones, well, your main priority here is True Bearing. That's your most precious buff to get faster CDs. However, it is random, so you shouldn't really go after it, or you will spend most of your time re-rolling instead of actually doing damage. So the simplest way to put it is in a similar way to your opener. So after your set opener, you for sure have 2 buffs or more because of loaded dice. So you're just gonna let that almost expire. So close to 3 seconds is when you should be looking to roll the bones again. If you didn't use that loaded dice, you'll use it on this next refresh, so you can freely keep on doing DPS and you don't have to worry about anything for quite a while. Now, to do those refreshes, you want to use Marked for Death. It also benefits from your cooldown reduction buffs like Restless Blades, so you get it pretty often, also through Burying. When you are at 0 or 1 combo point, use Marked for Death, and then roll the bones. When using that ability, use it with as minimal combo points as possible so you don't override them as much. And you're gonna basically reserve those Marked for Death for roll the bones only. The only time you want to use it for a run through or between the eyes, for an example, is when you have True Bearing and your buffs are at 30 plus seconds or so you can safely use it and still get it ready when you do need to refresh those set buffs. Now, if you get just one buff and it's Grand Melee, you want to refresh as fast as possible. If it's any other buff, use them until 3 seconds to expire to refresh. If you get 2 buffs and one of them is Grand Melee, only refresh if you have loaded dice up, so after an Adrenaline Rush. And lastly, if you just have one buff up, whatever it might be, and you get a loaded dice later on, reroll again to get at least 2. Besides those set rules, use whatever you get until 3 seconds of its duration and adapt to their benefits like the combo points. If you happen to get them all or almost all, well, there's where the fun starts, as you get loads of combo points and your CDs are gonna come off even more quickly and your damage is gonna be pretty good. So speaking of CDs, the way you want to use them is exactly in the same way as your opener. They always go together: Adrenaline Rush and Curse of the Dreadblades. So never use them separately. Problem is, Curse of the Dreadblades does not benefit from those cooldown reduction buffs, so you should be able to use a solo Adrenaline Rush in between Curse of the Dreadblades cooldown. You get loaded dice, so you can have those 2 set of buffs if you don't have them already, and then when Dreadblades is ready to go again, Adrenaline Rush should be back up. For sure it will happen if you get at least 1 True Bearing in the middle of that. And while there, you go into that 2-button rotation. If it's just Adrenaline Rush up, keep a normal rotation instead. Now, if you get True Bearing, you're gonna get a lot of Adrenaline Rushes, or at least you'll get them much faster. So you need to calculate if you're gonna be able to use it freely and then still be able to combine it with Curse of the Dreadblades. If not, just delay it a little bit. As for Marked for Death, again, it's only to be used for Roll the Bones. Again, you can use it for a run through, but only if the buffs are still more than 30 seconds to go, so get it ready to use when you need to. As for Vanish, can also work as a DPS cooldown, mainly for ambush to get that saber/proc, so just use it as much as you can, but outside of Curse of the Dreadblades, since it's not that useful there, so don't stack them. If you do have the Lego Shoulders, you want to use a run through with set Vanish instead, preferably before going into your CD window to get that sweet crit, and basically just keep that up until shit dies. And that covers it all. As for Slice and Dice build, well, it's gonna be much more simple. All that RNG and buff management is gone and is summed up to be on combo points and energy management. So first, for your opener, go in Stealth, pop your Curse of the Dreadblades, then Ambush, followed by Adrenaline Rush. Here, Adrenaline Rush is gonna increase the effect of Slice and Dice instead, so giving you more attack speed and energy regeneration. So use it before it always, whatever its current duration. Then Ghostly Strike for the damage debuff. It will also fill your combo points, since it's also a builder, so follow with a run through. Then just use Saber Slash or Pistol Shot and run throughs with that 2-button rotation, just like before. After the CDs are over, just keep Ghostly Strike up, taking the same priority as Saber Slash. Use Saber Slash and Pistol Shot to build combo points. Here, both only gonna give you 1 to 2 points if Saber Slash procs, so build always to 6 for a run through. And don't use Pistol Shot free proc near the cap of energy so you don't overcap. Easy. Slice and Dice, just refresh below 10 seconds, preferably after an Adrenaline Rush for the extra effect. As for your cooldowns, always stack them whenever available. Vanish, again, remember to use for an ambush or run through if with the Lego Shoulders before using your CDs. And that covers it. As for multi-target, it's easy. Pop, Blade Flurry, and do your single target rotation. That's it. It makes all of your abilities cleave all around you, so nothing changes. It weakens your energy generation slightly, so remember to turn it off when you go single target, but pretty much that's it. Run Through can also proc Greed, which does AoE, so more you use them, the better your AoE will be. And remember, Marked for Death refreshes every time a target dies with it, so great in dungeons, and as you can use it for an extra Run Through. Now, as for stats and a conclusion. So, stats in Outlaw can be pretty weird and change depending on what build you're playing on. Roll the Bones build, you get most of what you need in your buffs, so stats in general sense, you want a bit of all, but then benefit you in a specific way. On the Roll the Bones, haste and item level is usually going to benefit you the most. Haste is going to provide you more energy due to combat potency since you attack faster, but the other stats stay pretty close, so that might change from character to character. On the Slice and Dice build, Verse and item level is usually the best, with crit coming up close. Mastery increases the chance for those offhand attacks, but generally is the least beneficial of all your stats. Overall, I had a hard time figuring out stats. They highly change on what your character currently has, both stat-wise and other pieces of gear, so the best advice I can give is get on Raidbot's website, click on the stat weights, choose your character, and then sim, as that will be the best answer I can give you all. As for legendaries, the shoulders will prove to be the best, as you can wear for both builds, while the Ravenhold ring is one of the best for Slice and Dice build, and the wrists for Roll the Bones, for that bit between the eyes. As for the rest of your Legos, won't change your gameplay too much, so nothing to talk about. As for tier 21, they also won't add anything that changes your rotation. The Force set will give you a random roll the Bones buff, giving you some bad luck protection if you will, so it's quite nice. But keep a lookout for that if you get like a broadside or something like that to manage your combo points better. In conclusion, Outlaw is quite easy to play, there's not much to it besides combo point management, especially if you play Slice and Dice. A very classic approach to Rogue. As for Roll the Bones, well, there's that RNG, some will like it, some will hate it, but when you do get all those buffs, boy can it be fun. In the end, though, is mainly going to be about run-throughs or finishers and the way it interacts with your cooldowns. The more you do, the faster you get your steeds, which in turn will get you even more run-throughs. And then remember to use those cooldowns well. There's some more things to keep in mind with your Roll the Bones buffs, but here I decided to keep it simple as it can get overcomplicated. Getting over to the Discord channels will be your best bet to fully optimize your Outlaw Rogue in that regard. Also take in mind your other abilities as well, especially utility-wise and survivability. You can do a lot of soaking with feints and Cloak of Shadows and all of that, so remember to use them alright. Even tricks of the trade to help out the tank. And guys, that covers it all. If you're looking for my add-ons, check down in the description. Make sure to subscribe and like for more videos like this. Thank you for watching. As always, have a fantastic day, and I'll see you all next time. Bye bye.